The rebuild roller coaster rolls on as the West Coast Eagles were brought crashing back down to earth by a red-hot Sydney outfit. I think we all expected a little bit of a reality check on the back of plenty of celebration following back-to-back wins, but probably not as harsh as this, though. The 128-point loss was the biggest West Coast has faced at Optus Stadium. Despite some horrific performances over the last few years, it's match review Tuesday this week with Kurt and Ryan. We hope that you've had a good Easter break. Let's jump in and unpack this one. G'day, Golden Wingers. Welcome back. Thank you for fronting up and joining us again this week. It's not an ideal weekend, if that's how you want to put it, but we hope you had a good Easter week. And Rhino, back with me again this week, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not as great as last week, but yeah, doing well, mate.
It is a bit of a vibe killer, isn't it? Coming in,
it was.
Starting your week after, something we've become so accustomed to, but it's never easy. You went to the game, mate. How's the atmosphere at the stadium?
I mean, 50,000 were there for the game, which is absolutely crazy. That was the biggest crowd for the year, but came home a bit upset, not really happy. A lot of Sydney supporters there to support their team.
Yeah, really.
Optus. Yeah, it was a good crowd, good atmosphere to start the game. Boys weren't up to the standard, but yeah, no, I expect that against a Sydney outfit that is so damaging once they get going.
Yeah, like I said, I think we sort of expected a little bit of a reality check. Probably hurts to be to come in this shape and form, though, given that over the years we've seen some really big drummings, and you can accept that from a rebuilding side, but it feels like this year we don't have the excuses that we've had in the past. We don't have a huge injury list, although it is starting to mount up now.
Yeah.
We've got extra list spots, so there's plenty of AFL experience getting around on the park. We've got the leaders that we've brought in over the last few years, and a lot of our senior players were on the park. So really disappointing day, as we said. It felt like we were just beaten in all facets of the game, which is a shame.
100%.
But as we were saying before, mate, progress isn't linear, and one horrible game, I don't think it undoes the growth that we've seen so far to start this season. But it certainly does put a dampener on it, mate. 966 days since our last 100-point loss. You have to go all the way back to 2023.
In the Derby, wasn't
Derby.
it? Yeah, that's right.
That's good from you. That's
pulled that one out the hat, but yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the worst part of the game for me, was I've been hanging on to that stat and it's been getting me through some of the worst losses that we've had, knowing that we haven't had 100-point drumming, but geez, it was a shame to front up to the footy and cop that one.
Yeah, we can take it though, really. Flag contenders Sydney come to play. They had a long break, coming off the bye, rebuilding West Coast. Harley Reid was tagged out of the game. Isaac Keeney, Chad Warner, Brody Grundy just dominated the game from start to finish, really.
I'm glad you brought that up, because this is probably something that really irked me, and I don't know what the idea behind a lot of modern coaches, especially coming from Richmond. I feel like Andrew McQualter sort of picked this up from Damien Hardwick, who's infamous for doing this. But as you said, flag contenders Sydney come to Perth to play a young rebuilding West Coast, and they opt to tag a 20-year-old Harley Reid. Mm-hmm. But we can't go near Chad Warner, Isaac Keeney, who are both, on their day, top 10 players in the competition.
And we don't tag them out of the game at all. We just let them run right in the middle, let them do whatever they want.
I don't know what it is. I know you need to back in your system and trust early on in the season that your players are going to get it done for you. But we could see it coming a mile away. No Dev. No Yowie. And in the contest, we're going to touch on it a bit later, we were absolutely
destroyed,
pummeled in there. So, look, as we move into the episode, I don't think that there's a whole lot of value in getting caught up in the weeds of this game. But we'll cover what needs to be discussed, mate, and then we'll take stock of where we're at a little bit and move on to next week.
Plenty of footage still to go for the West Coast.
That's right. So we'll keep this one short. Thanks again for tuning in after a big loss, as we said. And I'm sure that most of you have probably tried to delete this game from your brains already. But Rhino, we will get the negatives out of the way early today, mate. No better way to start than with Ryan's rant. Plenty of avenues to go down this week, mate. There's no shortage of content for you. So what do you have in your sights?
Well, where do I begin for this week, really? We'll get into the team performance a little bit later when we do the full game breakdown in the week. But my rant for this week goes on to a few players. I don't want to be too harsh, but it has to come up. The standards were not good enough in the game last week. We were absolutely destroyed. But Matt Flynn, numero uno in the hot seat this week. being down at the ground, I was really paying attention to his ruck contests because I was really intrigued to see how he'd go against a premier ruck in Brodie Grundy in the competition. But to be frank, it shocked me to see how uninfluential and behind that 8 ball he was this week. Grundy was first to everything. He was second to every contest. They were in total cruise control that entire game, and it all starts at the middle. And that's where Sydney dominated us. And Flinny, known as a good mark at the footy club, good contested mark, had 0 marks for the game.
Yeah, that's
0
damning.
marks. That is terrible to see. And hit-outs as well. I want to bring this stat up. This is a really important stat. 75 hit-outs to 164 hit-outs against opposition first ruckman in the competition. He's behind the 8 ball. We played Jordan Sweet. That was his best game. Had the 27 hit-outs against Jordan Sweet, but Jordan Sweet still beat him, got 37 for the day. Totally off it, not creating enough opportunities for our mids, not getting enough clearance, centre bounces, and it's just a huge reason why Sydney overran us in that game was through the middle. And Matt Flynn, unfortunately, just couldn't help us anywhere around the ground. And so,
did he lay a tackle?
That's a good shout. I didn't have a look at that.
While you continue, I'm just going to look that up because that's one thing that he does around the ground, which, we always say that his hit-out game isn't strong, and that's not why he's getting a game. Yeah. It's off the back of his work around the ground, his ability to take marks, push forward, kick the odd goal and lay some tackles in the contest. And we haven't been seeing that from him this year.
I think he's our third lowest rated player for the day as well, other than
doesn't surprise me. And he had the one tackle. Which probably isn't good enough.
That's not good enough if you're in the centre, and you should be laying tackles. One tackle for the game, come on.
Yeah, well, they had all the footy.
They had all the footy, yeah.
There's plenty of opportunity.
There's plenty of opportunity to tackle in the game. But,
I know the stoppages were down and Flinny doesn't get near it, but, so fair.
Yeah, but, as well, Matt Owies, we've brought up in the fast before, and Cripper had an off day. Just didn't offer any threat up forward. No pressure, no locking the ball in our forward hard, had no impact. I think this guy just needs to build his form up in the WAFL, get his footy back up and running, get some goals, get some minutes on the pitch where he can impact the game at that level. And I hope they go into training this week and communicate to these boys like, we need some good, solid performance out of you in the WAFL before you're selected, because there are players knocking on the door. Bailey Williams was unbelievable in the WAFL in the week. In a losing team, he was probably the best on ground other than Elijah. He's really knocking on the door. Elijah as well, knocking on the door as that mid-half forward type player we will get into later on in the day. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Ryan's rant this week. And the writing's on the wall. These players are just not showing up good enough. And Flinny's in the leadership group, and he's not showing enough leadership in that middle to help the boys out. And that's it for Ryan's rant. And as I mentioned earlier, we'll be getting into the full game breakdown. And I know you've got a lot to say, but as they say in the comedy lounge, the floor is yours, mate. Full game breakdown. You ready to go?
Thanks, mate. Yeah, look, it's one of those games where like the stat sheet almost has no relevance because you're just totally dominated in every aspect.
Every step.
So where do you go? But we will have a look at some of the major standouts because this is some of the stuff that the club will be highlighting.
Yeah.
Probably the only stat that needs mentioned really is the contested possessions. Where the Eagles were minus 43, which very disappointing. Like, look, we were exposed without 3 of our better contested players in Devon Robertson, Milan Murdoch, and Elliot Yeo, of course. So we struggled to get our hands on it for starters. But when we did, the Eagles had 11 more turnovers for the game, despite having 138 less disposals than Sydney.
That's horrible.
It's just a damning stat. And I feel like that just sums up the game for us. We couldn't get it, but when we did, we butchered it. And that just comes down to the pressure that Sydney were able to put on, but also the perceived pressure from us just not having any composure, not working hard enough for each other. We talk about this a lot, but when you watch them play, they don't look like a team that plays for each other in the little moments when someone's stranded on an island close to the boundary and they're being hemmed in and pressured. I'm not seeing enough blocks. I'm not seeing enough running
numbers
for a
around
handball.
the ball as well. Yeah,
just picking up the footy and taking it. I'm just not seeing enough of it. So
totally agree.
Some of the other major KPIs: but time in possession, 37% for the game.
You're not going to win a game if you're not having enough of the footy.
It's hard to believe, isn't it?
Yeah, 37%. That's really hard to fathom.
Hitouts minus 17, as you said before. Yeah. So we were doubled in the hitouts, giving them first use. Minus 16 in inside forward 50s. I don't usually keep track of the inside forward 50s too much because you can have shallow entries and repeat entries and all that. Yeah. But to be minus 16, I feel like that just tells you the whole story. And minus 13 clearances is what it comes off the back of.
We're up in clearances last week, weren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
free kicks 10 to 27. so -10 in the free kicks, and that got a lot of feedback from the supporters, which is fair enough. Like, it felt like we were hard done by. The AFL comes out and acknowledges that they got a couple of the calls wrong. But that doesn't undo a 128-point loss, does it?
No, it doesn't at all.
And you tend to see the boys drop their heads a little bit and give away the odd free kick here and there because of how good Sydney are.
Yeah, they're so good.
When the opposition lifts, sometimes they can draw free kicks
out of you, 100%.
So, it's not all the umpire's fault.
Yeah. Do you want to bring up the Ruben Jimby?
Yeah, and so that's probably the main one is when Ruben gets elbowed in the head, Harley remonstrates. And
as a good teammate should, to be honest.
He cops so much flack.
Oh, David
from
King. David
the
King.
Commentators. I'm a big fan of David King and his work.
So am I, to be honest.
But mate, stick to radio. Like, I love his analysis of the game on a Monday morning when I'm listening to SEN. But mate, live in the game, I can't hack it. Like,
no, that was a joke what he said about Harley.
I'd rather hear about how the Eagles can work their way back into the contest rather than spending 10 minutes droning on about something that's just happened. And then again, I heard a really good point made. Like, if he doesn't go in and remonstrate for Ruben, all of a sudden David King's talking about how West Coast have a bad culture.
That's right.
And they're just allowing their teammates to get elbowed in the head. So little things like that upset me. And then obviously Harley bumped Sheldrick off the play and he fell over.
Given a free kick.
Yeah, and so that one's been corrected
AFL
as well.
reprimanded that, didn't they?
Yeah, so they gave away a shot on goal for no reason essentially. But it's frustrating to see when you're already losing. Sometimes it'd be nice just to have the rub of the green from the umpires when you're at home, but West Coast don't get that, unfortunately.
No, we don't.
But hey, let's salvage what we can from the individual performances because believe it or not, there were a couple of green shoots coming from this one. It is time now for Golden Wings MVP. If you're watching on YouTube, we'll have the leaderboard and the votes up on the screen just to try and make it a little bit more engaging this week. And doom and gloom aside, mate, there were a couple of players who really stepped up and softened the blow a little bit. Most notably was Willem Dersma.
Yeah, we both agreed on the 5 votes with that one. The 16 disposals, 2 goals, 5 score involvements. Was everywhere around the ground. He was definitely our best performance for the night, showing a lot of individual moments. Definitely looking the favour in the rising star.
Yeah.
Jagger Smith gets the touches, but it's the impact that Willem Dersma's creating for the team that's really exciting.
Younger too, isn't he? So he's doing it, and he's doing it in a side that's getting belted like that.
Yeah.
I thought it was really positive. Backs it up off a Rising Star nomination last week and took out our MVP, which is
100%.
massive for him. Job Shanahan.
We both agreed as well with 4 votes. Job Shanahan with the 4.
This is one of those ones where, like, if you look at the stat sheet, you're like, geez, he probably didn't have much impact on the game. But sometimes with our votes, we like to, especially in big losses, it's more about rewarding players for
their effort.
And he's a player that just never drops his head.
Yeah, and he's having to do 2 roles. He's starting the game forward pretty much every week and pretty much every week getting forced to go down the ball and be that next defender.
And I feel like it's almost at the point now where they can just start him in the back line.
Honestly.
If we're coming up against a team like that. We've spoken about it a little bit. Harry Edwards is very questionable now.
Yeah.
Sandy Brock, I like what he does with the footy in his hand, but his defence it's going to take him a little while to get up to AFL speed if he can get there at all. Obviously still so early on in his career, so we reserve judgment there. And then Ruben's battling really hard, but he's undersized and he's got an injury. So Job, it might be time just to bank him there for the next upcoming fixtures we speak about a little bit later. We've got Geelong and Fremantle coming up, so the ball's going to be spending a fair bit of time in D50. Potentially, he'll be starting back there, but the 9 disposals, 6 big marks, a couple of tackles, and just never dropped his head. So that was good to see. Tom McCarthy, mate, talk to me about his game because you've given him the 3 votes.
I just thought he was probably one of our more consistent players throughout all quarters of the game. He ended up with the 19 touches, 463 metres gains, 4 clearances, 2 tackles, 4 score involvements. Yeah, he was just running very hard. He was doing the hard yards. Probably got unrewarded like the other players around the ground, but definitely showed a lot of effort.
Was he playing a bit more midfield?
Yeah, he came into the midfield a few times, but definitely started off that halfback and maybe come off the bench a few times as well. Yeah, they were changing it around. As a losing side does, they want to experiment. And in that second quarter, you're seeing like CDT and Willem Harley in the midfield, just trying to get these guys minutes in the game, and T-Mac in the middle as well. So
that was really good to see, wasn't it, on Willem, I suppose we forgot to mention, but getting the 13 centre bounce attendances.
Yeah, it's great to see.
Nice to see them put him in the midfield, and he was making things happen a couple of times there. And just showed everyone that's been doubting whether or not he can be a midfielder. I think he's going to be a pretty good one in the future, mate. So pretty quickly, this guy could become our most exciting talent, I feel.
Yeah, I agree.
He's been underrated that heavily. Obviously, last year in the draft, there was a lot of speaking there was a lot of talk about how it's a shallow draft. Mate, Willem Dersma, he's putting that to bed, and so is Cooper Duff Tyler, I feel. And,
yeah, I've heard mentioned as well, like he probably would have been the number one pick in the year before in Sam Lawler's draft, and you're definitely starting to see it now, why he was touted as the number one pick for so long. And yeah, he was unbelievable on the weekend. That's why he took out our 5 votes.
Just on Tom McCarthy, it was good to see. I think he did have a little bit more midfield time, and it was nice. That's sort of what we were promised in the preseason.
Yeah.
But a player that I thought was our engine in the midfield, for better or worse, at times with his ball use and decision-making, was Tim Kelly. He took out my 3 votes with 24 disposals, had 24 pressure acts, so he was around the ball a fair bit. And obviously getting to it, he had 3 tackles, 3 intercepts and 3 score involvements. So, it's not his most influential game by any means, but it felt like whenever we were moving the ball forward, particularly in that first quarter, where we were actually sticking with them a little bit, he definitely brought a little bit of his offensive game, which was necessary. Bringing the defensive game in the midfield was Jack Graham, who took out my 2.
Yeah,
19 disposals, 3 tackles, a couple of score involvements, a few clearances, but it's more just he's another player like Jobe who doesn't drop his head.
Yeah.
And I was watching the game and I didn't really want to put him in the votes, to be honest, because he's not that flash.
I was disappointed in his tackling game, to be honest, on the weekend. And he ended up with the 3 tackles for the game, I think. But
he plays to the best of his ability, though. That's a thing.
That's
in an open game like that, with the way Sydney ping the ball around and so quick from stoppage, it's really hard for the slower players like Jack Graham to have influence on the contest.
Yeah.
So keeping that in mind, I thought that he was okay. Who did you have for your 2, mate? Because I was hesitant to put him in.
Yeah, I know. You were very hesitant to put him in. Liam Duggan, we get some spock on the podcast for putting Liam Duggan into these MVP.
Yeah.
But I thought he was pretty good for the weekend. 19
I'm glad
touches.
you went there.
He was 90% in disposal efficiency. Usually we put a bit of spock on his kicking and stuff like that, but he was very efficient with the ball. The 4 intercepts, had 2 score involvements off halfback. I think he showed a bit of leadership in a losing team. He was probably one of our better performers. And yeah, I'm just really happy the way he went about it with the game. He was not as influential as some of the other guys, but definitely showed the effort and the ticker in the fight in that game.
You had Brady Hoffian for the 1 vote as well, mate.
Yeah, the 21 touches, 10 marks, which was really impressive for the 5 intercepts. And yeah, I was really happy with Brody. Coming off probably one of his worst performances in a winning game at Port Adelaide. Yeah, showed a lot of fight and got back into the game with the 21 touches. Really happy with his performance for the week. And you had Bo Allen, who I was probably thinking about putting in as well. Yeah.
So we speak about
Very
Willem
consistent
Dersma.
Bo. Yeah.
He has been, hasn't he? He's been super consistent this year, which is great. We speak about Willem Dersma going in and getting some centre bounce time once we knew the game was done. And it was so nice to see Bo trusted with a few centre bounces too. And I feel like he could get a lot more time in there just given his frame. Like he's ready to go.
He's ready to go. His body's ready for AFL. It's just great to see, obviously. The 7 contested as well.
If you will.
Ready to bow.
So,
that was cooked.
That's shocking.
That's shocking.
Okay, 14 disposals, 7 contested. So he was getting it done on the inside and on the outside. Just going to try and compose myself. 3 intercepts, 3 score involvements, a couple of clearances and the 5 centre bounces. So he spent less time in there than Willem, but I feel like that's definitely something we should be persisting with as he continues to grow in confidence. And
yeah, I had him in my honourable mentions. Which, 100%. Spurts the ball out, looking great.
Yeah, he brings it out with pace, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
And the ball use was immaculate going inside forward 50.
100%.
That's sort of been the knock, is that he's not the most silky, smooth player, but he's
definitely worked on it in the preseason.
Pretty neat and tidy.
Yeah, neat and tidy.
A couple of those kicks were really
nice.
First class. So Archer Reid as well. He's been in our honourable mentions every week, and I thought that this game as well, it wasn't a great day for our tall forwards, but he had some big moments again where he sort of halves contests, and it's just all you're looking for, and that confidence will compound over time. How about Josh Lindsay, mate? Because he continues to contribute.
Down back. Yeah, needs to bank in some more games, taking a lot of the kickouts, which I love to see.
Good to see that.
Great to see. We talked about it, how he should be the main distributor, and you're starting to see that he actually is a good kick on the footy, and he's just going to develop. It's just about minutes and time getting on that pitch, giving in the footy, then starting to see how he's going to develop and how Minnie's starting to trust him with his kickouts, which is great. Him and T-Mac are probably the guys locked in now to take the kickouts for the team.
I still don't think they use him enough.
Yeah, I don't think
there's so many
either.
times where he's running past and he should be demanding the handball because he's a better kick than 90% of our back line. So
100%.
He's probably the best kick in the team, if we're being honest.
Let's be real.
And then Malachi Champion, I snuck in there. I went a little bit early on the quarter time Instagram story, but I'll stand by it. I thought that I think he needs to stay in the team. And I'm going to cop a lot of flack for this. I got so many borderline abusive messages on Instagram.
Yeah, I think you just guys need to watch back the game because I think he was probably our best small forward for the day.
He had some massive one-on-one moments where you just look and you go, okay, was his net game great? Maybe not. But you can say that for most of our players.
100%.
He had some moments where you just can't teach it, like outbodying a bigger opponent, taking a one-hander, wheeling inside forward 50, like holding up the momentum there. And then also winning a one-on-one contest inside forward 50, lace out to one of our keys.
Yeah.
Little things like that you can work with. And, he's not going to have a great day. They got beaten by 128 points by one of the flag favourites. So it's not going to be a great day for small forwards. But I think Malachi Champion deserves a mention. I'd be pretty flat if he got dropped ahead of like a player like Matt Owies, who's a senior player and featuring in Ryan's Rant just about every week.
Every week. Sorry, guys.
But,
sorry, Matt.
Yeah, no, that's probably about all that we could salvage in terms of the individual performers.
Yeah. So honestly, Kurt, no better time. You flagged last week. Charlie Curnow could be in for a big day. We definitely saw that on the weekend. What do you have for us this week for your big call? Really excited for this one.
Yeah, thanks, mate. It probably wasn't anything that was super revolutionary last week. I think we all sort of saw that coming. And this week I've sort of managed to try and just find a positive angle. It's not really a big call this week, but I just want to find an angle that West Coast supporters can take with them on their day and still be able to look forward to the footy this week. Yep. Obviously, we've got the Ochre jersey coming back in Gather Round.
Love to see it.
It's just a good time. Like, I'm so flat I've never been to Gather Round. It looks like such a great
atmosphere and
week.
Great time.
Yeah, so we'll have to get over there next year, mate.
100%.
But yeah, I've workshopped something and I just think that it's going to be the perfect opportunity coming up against Geelong, who are, again, another flag favourite. This is an opportunity to respond after a really shocking week. We've built some momentum with a couple of wins, built the belief. The narrative starts to shift a little bit. But then you get dragged back to earth and it's going to be really telling. Do they go into their shell? Do they cop another beating? Or can they stand up and say, no, we're not going to stand for that? And this week they're going to be spending a lot of time reviewing. They're going to spend a lot of time preparing and remonstrating for their mistakes. So it's a perfect opportunity to stand up and make a little bit of a statement here. I'm not saying we're going to win, but we've been an excellent contest side this year. Prior to last week, mate, we were rated number 1 in the AFL for tackles, number 3 for contested possessions, and 7 for clearances.
Yeah,
so, we've got the Cats at a neutral venue. We don't have to go down to
GMH and get flogging.
That's a win in itself.
That is a win.
But then, it's an odd venue. It's really skinny.
Yeah.
And we mentioned this before, like you were talking about how Geelong are used to playing at GMHBA, which is true.
The skinnier ground.
But this ground is genuinely weird. Like, I don't know if you've seen it. It is, the wings are almost non-existent.
Yeah, right.
So I'm just keen to see how Mini's going to attack this one. Like, we've shown that our contest can be really good. We obviously held our own against Gold Coast in that second half.
Yeah, for sure.
And a domination against Sydney. So it's going to be a good opportunity to respond. Mini's going to have the angles there to build up a little bit of belief. And I just can't wait to see how it unfolds. Obviously, we took it up to Geelong for that WA Day clash last year. So,
100%.
Some fond memories of that game and that matchup. So, hopefully that's an angle that they take and hopefully we see a response, mate. But as we said, it's a tough assignment for them on the bounce, from one pokey team to another almost with Sydney and Geelong. But we expect to see Dev Rob come back,
which would be great
from suspension. So that would be, he's going to be a massive inclusion. Milan looks like he's a little bit further away.
Yeah, I heard he said he's ready to go, but Mini's like, nah, mate, you're not ready to go. He's just edging to get back into the game.
It sounded like Yoey's only a couple of weeks away.
Yeah, they said if he's not playing this week, he's going to play in the Derby, which is really great to see.
Yeah, but hey, a couple of injuries potentially with Archer Reid with that shoulder.
Yeah, the shoulder, yep.
I didn't quite see, to be honest, I stopped watching.
I think it might have been a tactical sub, but who knows? But,
well, they don't really sub anymore, do they? I saw him coming off clutching his arm and then didn't take any further part. But as you said, they're not going to put him back out there.
Yeah.
But if he is to come out, I think that could be a straight swap for Dev, just to go with a little bit less height, obviously.
Yeah, we were talking about it. Yeah, maybe we can go a bit smaller field. We can, like the NBA, play a bit of small ball a bit, getting Dev back in, making a bit more in the contest, maybe in the game, or we do maybe a straight swap in, like maybe a Jack Williams type who's been playing in the WAFL and has played some AFL minutes.
Yeah,
looking pretty successful in the AFL as well. But if you were to ask me, I think Dev would offer a bit more in the contest, and that's what we're going to need against the Cats. A bit more ground balls, a bit more clearance. Otherwise, we're really going to struggle in those games.
Yeah, you think about that forward line. You got Schonberg. Dev Rob can roll through there. I don't like Jack Graham being in the forward line because I just think it's such a nothing it's just a waste of a spot because he's not going to kick goals and he's not electric.
Yeah.
But you can have those sort of pressure players down there. And so if we can get it in, we can at least, try and make a contest of it. But with that said, Job Shanahan might be going back. So,
that's
potentially we do need to bring in another tall. And speaking of talls, Bailey Williams, mate, you mentioned you caught a little bit of the WAFL. I think he took out Mish's top 5 MVP votes for the WAFL this week. Make sure you're following Golden Wings podcast on Instagram to keep up to date with the WAFL wraps. We've got eyes on the ground at every single game.
Yeah.
But he was one of our only salvageable
performers in that game.
Yeah, unfortunately. And
he actually looked really good, to be honest.
So do you think he comes in for Flinney? Question without notice.
Yeah, I know. That's a really tough one. I think they'll stick with Flinney. I think Mini rates him pretty high, but if it was up to me, it'd be Bailey Williams come straight in. I think up against Blitzarves and those types, I think he can really get a good run and jump and maybe set our midfielders up a little bit better. And he's looking really good, looking pretty fit, to be honest. But they did say they were cautionary of his fitness and maybe needed a few more weeks in the WAFL before he came back to AFL. But even if we're managing minutes, maybe we can swap him with CDT, give him a few minutes. Like, it's a Geelong game. It's probably going to be a tough game. CDT against like a Blitzarves type might be a good shout as well. And if Archer Reed's out, then that probably puts CDT more in the forward line. So I think Bailey Williams, if it was me, I'd put him in the team. But what do you think?
It's going to be an interesting selection call, I think, because there are some options here. Obviously, as you said, CDT can play a little bit more ruck. A lot of people calling for him to play a full game of ruck, but that just can't. He'll get monstered over a full 4 quarters against a senior ruck. Yeah. He looks good when he goes in there, but that's because he's only doing spurts.
Yeah,
like he's got the natural ability and the youthful energy to give it a crack, but he can't do it for a full game. Unfortunately, Bailey Williams, a lot of people, you're not alone, mate, are calling for his inclusion. So definitely one that I'm keeping an eye on. But I think that, unfortunately, for the Bailey Williams truthers out there, Norwood is going to suit Matt Flynn with his tackling prowess because it's going to be a little bit more contested, as we said.
That's right.
But obviously, the Bailey Williams matchup for Blitzarves probably makes a lot more sense. So if he's fit and ready to go, that'd be great.
Trigger.
Elijah Hewitt is probably the last player that we've got to touch on here from the WAFL. Apart from we'll mention a couple of other players that caught our eye, but Huey, a lot of people are hoping that he makes his return as well. But from what I saw, mate, he looked really out of breath.
He did.
And just struggling a bit for match fitness.
No, 100%. And I think Minnie mentioned it last week that Elijah probably needs a few more games in the WAFL before he comes back into the side. But if we're managing minutes, maybe he could come back in, like we said last week. He could do little short impact stints like Yowie was doing. Low risk of injury. But yeah, if Owi's not performing, like I mentioned, maybe even a smoker in Tyrell Dewar, he's just being wasted in the WAFL, just playing half back. Like, what's he doing? Is he going to replace a Josh Lindsay? Is he going to replace a Tom McCarthy? Is he going to replace a Liam Duggan? No. It's not going to happen. So this guy came into the team first as a forward, was looking pretty good, and then we moved him to the wing.
Kicks goals whenever he's there.
Kicks goals, great set shot. Give him a go. Get a bit more forward pressure with him and Malachi, a bit more speed, a bit of burst. I'd love to see it, but I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately, but I'd love to see that happen.
And then probably just a couple of the young fellas that did okay in the WAFL, despite, not having a great performance. But you can just see a few things here and there where you go, there's AFL qualities there to work with. There's probably
100%.
Tyler Williams.
Tyler Williams as well.
I've been massive on him.
I was going to mention him, but you've got a lot more information on Tyler.
His running ability is great. He's got the endurance, he's got the speed, and he's got good foot skill, and he kicks goals as well.
100%.
So, he'll be a player, but it's just going to take a little bit of time. And then Tom Gross, I'm hearing, did some good things, and I think we all know that he's one that can play AFL.
Yeah, 100%.
But potentially he's had a really interrupted preseason, so the match fitness is just going to take a little while. But with that said, mate, I think we wrap it up and just keep it pretty short and sharp this week. Thank you to everyone who sent in their listener feedback. There's a lot of passion and plenty of frustration, but there's probably not much that we could salvage from that one, really, that was constructive. We just don't want to get caught up too much in this game. I'm sure that everyone's already burnt it from their memory, but we are obviously sick of turning up to the footy and copying these losses and these big drumming. So hopefully we see a step back in the right direction this week after what has been a pretty positive start to the season, mate. And on that note, a massive thank you for fronting up and tuning into the Golden Wings podcast again this week. Rhino, if our listeners want to support the show, mate, where do they go?
All right, everyone, please take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just made 1,000 followers. Really happy with you guys. Thank you very much for the support. Follow along on our Spotify and Apple podcasts. Leave us a 5-star rating. And please make sure, if you want to keep up with weekly content. Please follow us at Golden Wings Podcast on Instagram to not miss out for things throughout the week with Kurt and Kurt.
Well done, Rhino. And most importantly, guys, if you've got a friend or a family member out there who you think would enjoy the show and loves their West Coast Eagles, then put them on and send them over to the podcast. That would be much appreciated. Guys, we'll see you again next week. Win, lose or draw. Enjoy Gather Round if you're getting over there. Very jealous and keen to see the Ochre back in action, mate.
Love to see it.
It's going to be good. We'll be back again next week. Thanks for tuning in. Catch ya.
Thanks, guys. Catch ya.
Have a great week.